Ba, ba, da, ba, ba, ba. Yes, we're back, and it's Fred with his cheap introduction. Like I said the last time, we can't afford proper sort of like musical introduction, so we've just got the ba, ba, da, ba, ba, babs. That's what you'll have to put up with. We are the Vinyl Vandals. My name is King Fred, and I'll pass you across to
John. I'm a Vinyl Vandal, and below us we have.
Right, I'm Jooli. I'm the stealth member of the Vinyl Vandals, never to be seen.
Yes, there is four of us. You might have realised that. You've seen me a lot, you've seen John a lot, and you've seen Riddler a lot. But Jooli is the fourth one. We make up the quartet of the Vinyl Vandals. She is the first lady of the Vinyl Vandals. She's the only lady of the Vinyl Vandals, so that's why she's the first lady.
Yeah, and you only have a chance I'll get Fred's call as a lady as well.
So who are the Vinyl Vandals? The Vinyl Vandals are me, King Fred, John, Jooli, and Riddler. Respected to Riddler. He's not here today. It's me and John that's interviewing Jooli. But just to remember that DJ Riddler does a show every Monday night on Method Radio, and that starts at 7 o'clock and runs to 8 o'clock. And it's every Monday night on Method Radio. You can get Method Radio if you download the MixLR app and put in Method Radio, or if you go on your computer and you put www.com mixlr.
mixlr.com/method-radio.
Whoop, there we go. And say it one more time, John, because I interrupted you, sorry.
www.mixlr.com/method-radio.
Okay, and if you don't know, now you know. Me and John do something called the Seven Bridges, and we do a monthly mix show on Method Radio as well. We did one last night, but by the time you see this, you're probably too late, but you can catch it because it'll be on our wall, on our Facebook, and we did a Halloween special. So all kinds of spooky hip-hop were played last night. So if you go on our Facebook, it's on there, and you can listen to it at your pleasure. Okay? We've got lots of other things planned as soon as COVID buggers off. Yeah, we like our trainers. That's the trainer detective there. That's part of what we do. We like to go into people's houses and snoop through that, not like a drawer. We like to sneak through the cupboards to look at the trainer collection. Okay? So if you've got any trainers and you fancy coming on, at the moment, obviously we're not going into people's houses, but what we're asking people are, if they've got the top 5 trainers, it'd be nice if they want to come on, yeah. It doesn't always have to be about hip-hop music all the time. We are also asking your favourite 5, so it could be your favourite 5 trainers as well. So if you're interested, please give us a shout. Okay, enough about me talking. It's Jooli's time. So, Jooli, welcome to the Vinyl Vandals.
Thank you.
Favourite 5 video podcasts. I'm saying welcome, but you're part of it anyway. But thanks for finally saying yes. It's took a long time, people. It's took a long time. But we've got it here.
It's my worst nightmare. It really is. I can't stand being on camera, and I can't stand being pinned down to a top 5, top 10, anything. It's disgusting.
We've done it. So it's only right that you can do it.
So hard.
Okay. Wait till you have to do your UK ones or your USA ones. Yeah. So on that note, what have you picked, UK or USA?
I've gone US.
Nice. And you say that was difficult?
Sorry?
And that was difficult, was it?
It was, because people always cite US as being hip-hop. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, you forget about UK and how brilliant the scene was and the amazing tunes that came out. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, I'm not neglecting UK at all. I'll do that at some time as well.
Damn right.
But yeah, I went US, and even that was difficult. Mm-hmm. It was hard.
It's always, I would say, when I'm talking to people and also doing it myself, it's always best to choose and then do it straight away. So I'm waiting to do my US one. I've done my UK one, where people can, check back on our YouTube. And I can find that. I've done my UK one, and I've finally picked my US, and I need to record it soon because I'll choose it. I'll change it again.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for John to bloody pick his, so we're still waiting.
Eventually,
it'll be soon because we need to get it in because Julie's got a lovely idea what we're going to do. So yeah, we need to get that done soon, John. as in this week or next week. But anyway, no further delay, we'll go with what Jooli's got. So, Jooli, let's pick your first one.
Okay, well, totally understand what you said about changing your mind every 5 seconds. And as you know, it's up to the wire until this started.
Sorry, I've made a mistake, Jooli. Can I just, sorry to interrupt you there? Before we do start and you give us your thing, have you picked them in the hierarchy or is it just your 5?
I would say 4 of them, they aren't in a hierarchy.
Yeah.
They're just on the same. My number 1 is always going to be my number 1.
That's all right.
And I'm going to do that when I go into it.
Okay, that's cool. It's okay. So pick your non-importantest one. Go on in.
Right. My first one, and I'll get this out of the way because I know I'm going to get a few heckles off Fred, is Stetsasonic.
For those who don't know, I used to love Stetsasonic. They've done us dirty. They've done us dirty. They've done all of us dirty. They didn't turn up for a show, and I can never forgive them for it. Anyway, it's your turn, so go on. Why Stetsasonic?
Stetsasonic. As you say, you know, I mean, they didn't show up for that gig. We were all devastated. Riddler, the other member of Vandals, asked us who would I love to see, what group, what hip hop group would I love to see, and I said Stetsasonic. And then months later, they came up saying that they were going to do a gig in London. So we all bought the tickets, with train tickets, with hotel. And as we know, that didn't happen. However, I'm not quite as, you know, angry as Fred.
Angry, very angry.
Really, really angry. So I can't disregard their work.
Okay.
They've been really like pivotal in a lot of how they've influenced my hip hop. And I just remember listening to this album. Somebody must have given it to us on cassette. Don't know who that was, but thank you very much. And I went on this really long bus ride to go and visit a friend, and she lived miles away. And I had it on my, well, it wasn't a Walkman, it would have been some snide version, but I was listening to it on this bus. I didn't want to get off because I hadn't finished. Right. So I just wanted to come back so I could listen to it again. But this album, you know, it just sort of switched things up a little bit. It still had all the essence of hip hop, you know, it had the scratching, the mixing, the samples, but there was the live band in there. You know, the human mix machine had so many members to it. You know, I don't know, it was just a really different vibe. I loved it.
Okay. For me, I remember getting it and I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. My only thing that really used to bug us when I first heard it, and well, it's obviously still now, I've got the vinyl album, and I've also got it on CD just for good luck, is that god-awful Float On. I was just like, what? You know, when you listen to that album and you're just thinking, this is mint, you know, in full gear, steps, all of that, yeah. And then all of a sudden that Float On comes on and you're just thinking, it's Harry for a wedding, you know, when Auntie Beryl's there, but how the hell have they put that on such a classic album? I don't know how you felt. John, Jooli, how did you feel about that?
I hated it.
Yeah, I wasn't like that, but I mean, Prince Paulie was involved in so many different acts as well. You know, he produced for like some of the greatest hip-hop artists there are. And even when he worked with De La Soul, he was always being a fan of putting in these little bits, you know, these little interludes or whatever. And I think the first time you hear them, you're like, okay, and then you get sick of them. You know, you just want the next track to kick in.
I agree with that.
So, but yeah, I can forgive it on this album. You know, I don't like it, but I'm not going to write off the whole thing just because of that.
Of the skits. Well, he basically was like one of the, you know, I don't know whose ideas it was, but, you know, obviously he's been involved in quite a bit of that kind of like the skit thing. And I think, like you're right, at the time, it was great to have it on stuff, you know, it was like, oh, that's funny, and, you know, checking it out. But then when you want to listen to it and you just think, oh, especially when it's ingrained into a song. So if it's like skippable, you know, like if you listen on a CD or something, you can skip it, can't you? You can't do it on the record because you have to lift it up and drop it back down again. Yeah, but on a CD, you can skip it. But if some skits are actually ingrained into a song, so they're like at the start or the end of a song, and you can't sort of like, you can't chop that off, and that's when it starts being annoying for me. Like,
yeah. No, No, you're right. However,
Mm-hmm.
I'll forgive it for this album.
That's fair
You
enough.
know, it's just madness. Like just all the different samples in there and the way they did it, and then like obviously the live band that they had on there, which was probably unheard of, I would have said, for hip hop at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that there's a couple of things which has always got me about hip hop, and I think this sort of is the essence of it. Is to me, it's genius how people take breaks and samples of different things and have that talent, you know, and that whatever goes on up here to put that together. It's just amazing. It's always amazed me, especially, you know, in the early days, like Grandmaster Flash or whoever, you know, and they had literally nothing, things that they built from scratch almost, and, you know, lifting their parents' records and making something different, either slowing it down, speeding it up, putting something on loop, you know, and just making a totally different sound and a different experience. You know, to me, it's just mind-blowing. It really is.
Yeah, you're right. And it's that saying that they keep saying, and it's something from nothing. Yeah, making something from nothing. Yeah, definitely. So, you know what we're going to ask you now?
Favorite tune?
What's that?
My favorite one?
Yeah, your favorite track off that album.
I'm going to say Talking All That Jazz.
Okay. Why is that?
I mean, the track itself is just addictive. You know, the bass line, everything, but also what they were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, they were talking about taking samples, being taken to court, all of that, sort of like this bit of a backlash against hip hop. And then their sort of rebuttal against that.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a different sort of subject matter in a way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's one that I'd heard addressed until that point. And it was kind of establishing that hip hop was a new genre of music, and it actually upset people, and it was causing a stir, and it wasn't getting,
it's just,
you know, so yeah, I think Talking All That Jazz, really, it's amazing.
Cool. What's your favorite track off that album, John?
It's the same one.
Ooh. I haven't had a chance to think about it because somebody was naughty and didn't give the lowdown on what they were going to pick until a few hours beforehand. So I haven't had a chance to go and check out me album because I was at work as well. I'm trying to think what else I would pick if it wasn't Talking All That. I love Talking All That Jazz. I'm trying to think. What's that one called? Is it Step Troop 88 or whatever it's called?
Yeah, Step Troop 88, strong.
Yeah.
In full gears, you know.
Full gear.
You've been seeing the music play, you know, they're all.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah. That's It's a hard one to pick actually without being able to go over it and think what's my favorite song off the album. It's an excellent album, like I say. The only reservations is Float On and the fact that they're done as dirty. You're done as dirty, Steph. You're done as dirty. Okay.
It was so funny. Angry when you turned your back on the stage and everything.
Good and hissing.
Right.
But at least he didn't leave like me.
Well, I respect you, John. You let them walk half the length of London to get to him. That's how disgusted you were. Nice.
Because when you started to boo, I went, right, I'm off.
There was a second where I think people were going to think about lynching us, wasn't there? And then they were like, why are you booing? I was like, well, because it's not them. Yeah, it's not them. And then people started booing as well. It was funny. Anyway.
It was a good night, apart from that.
It was a good night. You can't take that away. It was a good night. Went to the pub next door and had a good time. So, yeah, it's all about that as well, isn't it?
Definitely. The pub was kind of like one of these video chats, but in a pub, which is what we used to do.
Yeah, definitely. Which is where the idea came from, really. It's just about how we always just talk and we don't record it. And this is what we're doing. So that's spot on. Okay, Jooli, before we pick your next, thanks for that. Before we pick your next album choice, I think it's important to let people know Jooli and Jooli's hip-hop history. So in your own words, what made you get into hip-hop, or, you know, what was your, you know, just, lay it out.
I don't know, it was quite a weird one because, as you can imagine, growing up a girl in Newcastle, it wasn't really the obvious choice.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't really have an affinity to anything else.
Yeah, right.
I didn't really want to spray myself orange and listen to Kylie Minogue. You know, that never really struck a chord.
No, controversial. Yeah.
And no incentive for hippie juice and,
Yeah.
you know, talking about emotions. As you know, it's not my thing. But or being a goth, you know, there were certain sort of groups,
There was, yeah.
and there was never something that I kind of fitted into.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend when I was young, and her dad was an old Rasta. What? Just one.
Friend.
Just one.
Okay, right.
And her dad was an old Rasta, so I sort of used to listen to a lot of reggae when I went around there.
Yeah.
The only trouble was, like, the records and the player were guarded with his life, so you could never find out who these people were.
Right.
I think that was my only kind of inroad into something that wasn't commercial, or that I wasn't surrounded by.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have like cool parents or a cool older brother or sister or anything that would,
right,
you know, give us music to listen to. So I think to get into hip hop, it was actually a real kind of love of the music, because you had to push and you had to, you know, go quite hard
mm-hmm.
to get in there.
Yeah. What do you mean by push quite hard to get in there? As in, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, obviously you didn't have the internet. There was no sort of source of reference.
Yeah.
You know, there weren't, I mean, there were magazines, but I was skint and I couldn't afford any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And even when you went to the record shops, they were quite intimidating.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
found,
mm-hmm.
I mean, we can talk a bit about that in a bit, but so to take that route wasn't the easy option. It wasn't kind of a fashion thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't a choice to be, oh, I'll try and be popular, I'll be into hip hop. It was kind of the opposite.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. We'll come back to that. We'll revisit a bit more of your hip hop history. But we'll go back into the music for now and pick your next album.
Okay, my next album is Paris.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. You can't disregard that. It's absolute genius. The
Mm-hmm.
devil made me do it.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, can you hold that album cover up again, please?
Right.
My album cover doesn't look like that.
Because that was the re-release. That was the that's the remastered one.
That looks like the 12-inch cover or something, doesn't it?
It's
with blue, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in my life, a lot of my original vinyls that I had and that I bought back in the day, have got lost, misplaced, left behind because of one or two other situations going on. So I've had to buy a lot of represses, a lot of different things, which has absolutely killed us.
Yeah.
You know, when you need to have your music, you need to have it.
You're very, very, very true. Very, very true. You've still got it though, you know. Obviously, some stuff it does pay off. I'm the same. I've been through a divorce. I didn't have anywhere to live. Had to like, put stuff in people's lofts. I think I've told this story before. But then when I was trying to get stuff back, some people didn't give us stuff back, and you know, whatever. You lose it, I suppose. But it is sad. But as long as you've got something there, that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I suppose when I say that hip hop has really kind of changed and formed my life in many different ways. And I suppose one of the profound moments was that, you know, I'd buy my vinyl. I was probably 15. You know, so we're talking a good few decades and a half plus here.
Yeah.
Which I probably should admit to. But for my parents, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't really the thing to be doing, to listening to, you know, I think it was probably the Ghetto Boys that finally like put the nail in the coffin.
That'll do it for a lot of people, to be fair. If you can educate your parents on hip hop, play some Ghetto Boys. That'll do it.
So I was unceremoniously evicted, and all my vinyl got left behind.
Mm-hmm.
which was more upsetting to me than anything else. But I think around that time, probably earlier, but Paris, this album dropped in my life.
Yeah.
And again, I used to listen to it on my slide Walkman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I mean, the lyrics, just how it makes you think, how it makes you sort of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, it takes you out of your bubble, of your own world and what you've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes you think and makes you sort of recognize things and question things,
Yeah.
you know, statements like that. And plus this it's got a deep, dirty bass line all the way through it.
Yeah.
It's a long album, you know, it's got that thudding all the way through. And it was kind of hit me at a time when I was a bit of an angry little girl.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of fed into that as well, you know, it just kept us on my toes and
mm-hmm.
and probably, you know, sort of geared me up in a certain way, kept me a bit angry and a bit,
Mm-hmm.
you know, watching out for people, which was probably a good thing at the time because it needed to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the main things that I'll always say about hip hop. Yeah, you've got your, you know, your bangers and your club tunes or, you know, your popular tunes, but it's always about how it's made me think and shape my world and how. And I often wonder if hip hop hadn't happened, where would I be and what would I be thinking?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
It's a scary thought.
John, do you want to come in at this point and say anything?
No, I think she said everything really about it because it's probably what my top 5, top 10 definitely. But I think it's anyone who likes hip hop. It's one of them artists where everybody likes it, but he doesn't get as much recognition as he should do.
Just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's like I haven't met many people that don't like him, but you know, but I'm not saying I haven't met anybody, but I have. You know, there's a lot of people. If you mention, oh yeah, I like Paris, but he never gets mentioned as a top rapper or you know what I mean. He's not in anybody's sort of like, you know, when people ask me, or who you really, you know, when you said before, Julie, when you were asked sort of Riddler about who you really like to see live, I really want to see Paris live. He's one of my. I've got to see him live. I'm gutted that he never comes here because I really want to see him live because, like you've just said, he's the whole package for me. When I discovered him, I was just like, okay, the record cover, the vinyl cover, then there was the inner sleeve, and it had different things about different sort of movements within the black community. So like the Black Panthers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Do you know what I mean? There was all this different stuff, and I'm like, on the surface, I thought I knew who they were type of thing, and then I was reading about the Marcus Garvey, and I was like, okay. And then looking around my house and like looking around my dad's house and seeing some of those books there, and thinking, oh, my brother's got one, or my older sister's got one, and then but never reading them, thinking I knew everything about Malcolm X, but not knowing a thing. And I thinking I knew about the Black Panther Party, but not knowing a thing, and then reading them and thinking, oh right, and you know what I mean. And I would say he along with Public Enemy, he's definitely one of the people that educated me through hip hop. So when you talk about edutainment, as Kira Swen coined, definitely Paris and Public Enemy are the ones that educated me, you know, and I'm forever grateful for that, you know what I mean? As well as keep the funky beats, like you said, the dirty bass line as well, you know what I mean? So they did both. Now, some people are really good at educating and some people are really good at the funky beat. And I would say Paris and Public Enemy are good at both, you know, definitely.
I think another good thing about Paris as well, he produces all of his own stuff as well, which doesn't really get enough recognition for either. So, and
also that he's a flipping, you know, he's a brainiac. You know, he's got a high IQ. He's a what is he working again? When you'll stop making music for 10 years, then come back. But he does what do they call it across there? Like, oh, what's it he does? Is it like sells houses or something, or real estate or something like that? He does. He's really clubbed up. You know, he's not just he's a full package. Paris is a full package. You know, he can just stop making music, do that, and then come back. And he's still, you know, he could go for the dollar. He doesn't. He goes back. He goes for the jugular of the corporate flipping dudes who are bleeding the country dry. You know, in America, and he's not bothered in the racists, and he's not bothered to hold him to task, which I'm forever grateful and love him for. You know, he's spot on.
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult choosing which album, to be honest.
Right.
Okay. I like Gorilla Funk.
I like Gorilla Funk, but not as much as that one, I've got to say.
But yeah, this one topped it. This was the first one I heard.
Yeah.
And this is what got me into Paris, so
Yeah.
I've got to go with the original, and I say this one.
And there's so many bangers on there as well.
I know, which is why I'm dreading the next question.
Yeah, it brings us nicely to the next question, Julie. What's your favourite song on there then?
I don't know. I've changed my mind every time I look at this back cover.
Mm-hmm. We're waiting. What's happened?
Lost your sound.
Lost your sound, Julie. Julie, we lost your sound. Sound. Can't hear you. Are you there?
Did you hear?
Yeah, I've got you now. No, we didn't
Lost
hear
your
you.
sound. So answer that again.
Right, I don't like making this choice. I'm going to say Break the Grip of Shame.
Okay.
But the devil made me do it.
One choice.
No.
Don't stop being a Riddler on with.
It really is.
It is hard, like. It is hard.
I'll go with the title track.
Okay, devil made me do it. Yeah. Okay. Spot on. You're either one breaking the grip of shame. Devil made me do it. Ivan, what do you call it? Is it what's the instrumental one? Is it Mad Mike or something? They call him Mad.
This is a test.
I call him Mad.
I call him Mad. Yeah, and this is a test as class as well. Yeah.
See, my favourite track's Escape from Babylon.
Good. Yeah.
That's a
Wretched.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all class. Let's face it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the slow ones, you know me, I'm not a slow dude, but you know, even the slow one, is it Mahogany? Is it? No, it's not Mahogany. What is it?
Mellow Madness. Mellow Madness.
No. Yes, with the sax in and everything.
Yeah.
Really jazzy one. Yes. Yeah. It's a brilliant album. It's a brilliant album. I suggest anybody who has never heard it before, it's a Vinyl Vandals recommendation, because it's a very, very, you know, it's one of those ones, we've all got our favourite hip hop, but we universally like Paris's, that album by Paris, or Paris in general. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and another thing about this album, because I'm a girl and I'm into hip hop, I often get sort of questioned, or people think that I'm not really into hip hop. Whenever I say that I like Paris, it's almost like, oh yeah, she really does. She knows what she's on about.
Right. Okay. So it's like you pass a litmus test.
Yeah. Just about do.
Because you don't see Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, need disrespect to them, or Vanilla Ice. Yeah. You see some hardcore stuff from Wyunda. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why it's like that, I don't know, but that's how it is.
Interesting. So on that note, I was gonna ask this a bit later, but you brought it up anyway, because you're a girl. How do you think you've just touched on it there, but how do you think you've been perceived as a hip hop fan in a male-dominated world of like fans and also performers?
I think it's three things really. First of all, I'm from the Northeast.
Yeah.
I'm white and I'm a girl.
Yeah.
So that's a really tiny demographic.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite small. And I think I've always struggled with this. Even now when I go to gigs, it's always assumed that I'm there as somebody's girlfriend or a tag-along or pretending I'm into music just to fit in with someone or other. You know, so you quite often, people will be having a discussion and they'll just sort of shun you to one side. Yeah. You know, kind of like you don't have an opinion. You know, I've been on some of those hip hop forums before. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't rate most of them anyway.
To be fair, Julie, on that one, if you dare have an opinion that's not of the masses, and you know, we're Vinyl Vandals, we're all very opinionated about our music and our politics and lots of other things between us on varying levels. And I think in some of those, you're right. I've seen some women being disgustingly treated, and then I hear afterwards, and I've spoken to other females that I know like hip hop, not just in the Northeast, but like around the UK, who I've got to speak to. Not many, but who've had some disgusting things like willy shots getting sent to them for instance. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like I'll shut your mouth and get your tits out.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, or
Yeah.
you're too ugly to have an opinion, so
Yeah.
don't bother. You know, and you're like,
Yeah. But what I would also say is there's too many of those sort of groups anyway where I dare say something that's contradictory to them because there's a lot of sheep goes on in there and I get crap. I've had crap before. I said something once, like last year, I can't remember when it was, and one of the hip hop debates, I just said, oh, who's he? Because I didn't know who he was. I don't know every rap group. I certainly don't. And there's some people say you should know, and I'll say to you, we say it for a joke, you don't know who that is. But I don't. And it's one of your choices today, for instance, I'll tell you in a second when you bring it out, that I don't know anything about. And I was shocked to find out who's in the group actually. Okay, but I don't know who it is. So all I was asking was who was it. But the pelt as I got, because I didn't know, and the way I said it was like, oh, you're being disrespectful. You should know who they are. If you don't know who they are, you shouldn't be in hip hop. Why? How many artists is there in hip hop? You know, we're not going to know them all. And actually, I've never had the pennies to buy every single album by every single person. So no. So it's horrible.
You know what it is? I can almost take somebody disagreeing on my opinion or from my music knowledge.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go to that. It's like because you're a girl, they comment on your look, or they comment on you know what I mean? And that's like a whole different level to me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, it's pathetic. It really is.
So that kind of like you're a girl, so you don't know so you can't have an opinion on hip hop, or because you don't know who somebody is, then it's this. And then the same people sometimes some of the stuff they're arguing about, you're just thinking, well, hip hop's opinion. We can have a joke. We can have a joke and say, "Oh, your trainers are horrible," because everybody knows I don't like some of the trainers that John and Michael like, i.e. Nike. And we'll have a joke, but it's a joke between us, and we'll have a joke about that. But to turn around and say, what you know because you're female, what do you know because you're blonde? I just don't get it. I just think, especially when you look at people that they're not young.
Backside saying I can't have an opinion because I'm ugly is just interesting to me.
Oh God, what?
As we know, between us, I've always got an opinion.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because everybody else has. That's why we're in the, we've got an opinion because that's why we like hip hop. We've got an opinion that we like this music, or we like this breakdancer, or we like this graffiti. Do you know what I mean? We've got an opinion because that's why we've chose what we've chose. Whether you like rock music or that's your opinion of what you like in rock music and what you don't like, and you can have a joke about it. But when you start getting personal, I just don't get it. You know what I mean? And there's nothing being, obviously I'm married now, settled down. It's nothing to me now. But there's nothing worse than going to a show or anywhere where it would be nice to be able to, like when you're single and you're younger, to be able to sort of like be around people that you like. In my case, if you're like a female, but going to a show where it's just all males, there's nothing worse. Why chase females away if you want to be around and like females company? Why chase it away? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Really don't.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I always get looked at like I might be a groupie or whatever like that.
Yeah,
you just, it's never I'm there just because I love the music.
Yeah.
Apparently that doesn't come into people's heads.
John, anything to add to that?
That's why I don't join any of these groups, because they just do me head in. I'm not a member of a single one. I think you recommended to join one. I was on for about 5 minutes. I went, nah.
Yeah, it's fair enough. You're probably wise, John. You're probably wiser than me
on
that score. Because I sometimes sit there and think, why am I still here? But it is what it is.
Why are you still there?
Because some people do come out and say some kind of things that you just think that's interesting.
But
and
how often does that happen, though?
Once or twice a month. But it's worth waiting for. It's like waiting for a bus. Yeah. You're probably right, John. I probably should come with them, to be fair, but I'm a bit stubborn like that sometimes, so.
Oh,
really?
You reckon?
Shut it, you. You're not allowed an opinion. Okay, thanks for that, Jooli. On behalf of all these foolish men, I'm saying sorry for the stupidness, but the thing I was trying to get at as well is, it's sort of not, I'm not making excuses for it. You sort of understand when you're younger, but when you're older and you're in your 40s and that, do you know what I mean? And you're heading to in your 50s and 40s, and you're still acting like that. Well, I'm not saying you are, but you've just grossed yourself up, so you know. I'm talking about the men who are acting like that. they should know better because they're granddads now and they're dads. And when I say dads, the dads with kids, you know, in their 20s, and they should know better. You know, when I see some of them and the way they act on, it's sad. So yeah. Anyway, back to the music.
Back to the music. Okay, this is another one that I struggled with. And it might be a bit of a surprise which one I've gone for, but it's EPMD, Back in Business.
I was shocked at that, I've got to say.
You know, Strictly Business was there. But when I played them both, because I've been playing them all over the weekend to try and figure out exactly what I'm listening to. And this one, just, I don't know, I can just play this from beginning to end practically. You know, it's chilled, it's got like the funky bass lines and the samples on there. You know, there's one tune on there that's got, I think it's Beethoven, and then a bit of Beanie Man sampled as well. You know what I mean? Like, how the hell does that work? But it's just so smooth, it's just in there.
You know what? Go on, sorry, you were going to say something else, go on.
I was going to say, never seen before the remix on this. I prefer the original by a long shot.
Okay.
But, you know, it's got Jane on there to follow through the But yeah, I mean, Fred, I think we've seen them twice, is it?
Right, I've seen them twice with you, but I've actually seen them about 6 times.
Right.
Every time I gigging, I will always go and see them because I love them. Okay. Same with Public Enemy. I've seen Public Enemy about 8 times, but I'll always go and see them because I just think I'm mint. Yeah. What I was going to say about EPMD and that album was when I obviously, like I said before, I was working from home today, and obviously I didn't get your list until later on this afternoon. So I had a quick, you know, like, because you don't always play all the stuff, you know, as you can see behind, I've got loads of albums anyway, and I've got thousands of CDs, so I don't always play that album a lot. And if I'm going to play an EPMD album, it tends to be the first one, Strictly. But I played that before, and I was like, you know what? She's right, you know, this is a damn good album. There's lots of tracks on here. And it does rival Strictly. It does actually rival Strictly, as in there's a lot of good tunes on there when you actually start sitting down and listening again. Because the other thing as well is because a lot of the time I haven't always got time to be listening. I'll tend to be more in my car or out, like, say, at work and stuff. So I tend to listen to stuff digitally, you know, like driving and stuff, or CD. And so I tend to, some of the songs sort of go into one. So if I'll play EPMD on my iPod, for instance, when I'm in the gym or something like that, it tends to just be one song after the other, and I forget what songs off what album because I've just listened on a loop. That's a really good album. And I've got to agree with it. It's an absolutely really, really good album. I'll be playing that this weekend on the vinyl, you know.
Yeah. And the other reason I chose it, Strictly, as I say, you know what I mean, I was like that all the way through. But if people watch the other episodes of this program, a few people have already picked Strictly. So it didn't sway me because this is personally my favorite album.
Right.
But just to bring, like, you know, a bit of a different spin on there. And I think that's influenced a fair few of my album choices tonight because there's so many classics. You know, we've had Rakim mentioned a few times. Conflict Regarding, KRS-One. You know, there's so many legends out there. So these are definitely like my top albums. So I just thought I'd try and bring a few slightly different.
That's fair enough. What I would say to anybody who's not been on here yet and is thinking about being on is don't let that sway you. I don't care if people sit down and pick exactly the same 5 albums as Riddler's picked or Jooli's picked. I don't care. Or as the Outlaw Posse have picked or Blade. I'm not bothered about that because everyone's got their own sort of slant on it. Nobody said exactly the same thing yet. Some similar things, but not exactly the same thing. So, but I respect that you picked that because actually, like I say, I listened to it. I thought, ooh, this is all right. John?
I think my favourite ever EPMD tracks on that album, The Joint. That is probably my favourite ever. But apart from that, Jooli, what's your favourite track on it?
Nice. I like that.
God, I hate you. I feel like just closing my eyes and doing this because nearly anything on there could be that. They're all mad. Never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that for this minute in time, because if you ask me in 5 minutes, I'll change it again.
Coolio.
For all of them.
What's yours, Fred?
Oh, now, like I say, I haven't had enough time to pick them through. So, because it's not an album I play, a lot is in by itself. So I'd have to have a good think about that. But the joints on there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's me.
That's up there. Is there another, like a remix on there of another song that I've done?
You've got 97.
Because I love it. You've got the Chill, the original, and they got the Chill remix is a damn good tune as well. You could, there's about 4 on there that I listened to this afternoon quickly, like skipping through on Spotify, and I thought, actually, this is a mint album. And I need to play it properly at the weekend to like sort of digest it. I'll pick the joint as well. Yeah.
We were agreeing again. Just got to stop this.
Yeah, it's never happened.
But you know what it is between the vinyl Vandals? We've all got different tastes and stuff. Yeah. And John's got some left field stuff. I think me and Jooli are probably the closest in liking the same types of tunes between the 4 of us. But there's universal like artists and that will all sort of like universally say yes, that's the one in it, and that I would say for me EPMD is definitely one of them. But then again, there's not many people doing it, is there?
How can you not?
True indeed.
But yeah.
So, back to a bit of your history.
Okay.
Can you tell people about where you got your first records from? What was your first hip hop record that you got? Fill us in on a bit of that. What shops you went to?
I can't remember what my first hip hop record. I used to buy more 12s than albums to start with. And I know Fred, you were the other way around, but there were a few reasons why I bought 12s. I think probably the first one was that they were cheaper.
Okay.
And it was a bit of a struggle to afford this vinyl. You can't lie.
Yeah.
When you don't get pocket money because that thing doesn't happen. You know what I mean? You have to kind of have a little bit of a hustle to get your hands on these things. Mm-hmm. Another one for 12s is it was like an instant fix. You know what I mean? And because you were quite often buying blind, you would go through the racks and you would go through label. Yeah. I suppose when I was listening to it, it was often people's first drops. Mm-hmm. So you didn't have anything to reference it against, so you would just really take the chance.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing you did when you picked up a record was flipped it over. You know what I mean? The front cover to me came in afterwards. You would flip it and you would go down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And you would see who was on there. Mm-hmm. Which label it was on, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody on here who's from Newcastle has kind of got the same story in a way about the record shops. Mm-hmm. It was Hitsville.
Okay.
Which I said before, it was quite intimidating for me to go in some of these shops because they weren't necessarily hip-hop based shops.
Yeah.
And Hitsville had these, they were just scary anyway, and they hated anybody in hip-hop in there.
Like the money, though. They like the money.
Yeah. And plus, a lot of my friends at the time used to sort of tax people on the stairs as well, so that didn't go down too well. Yeah. But yeah, Hitsville. And I wish I kept the carrier bags because apparently they're worth a bit now.
Hello.
And then the holy grail for me was Bill at Volume.
Okay.
He was kind of the overlord of hip hop in Newcastle at the time.
Yeah.
And again, that was like a rock shop. It was all painted black on the outside with just the yellow signage. Yeah. And it was all rock music and punk stuff that I don't understand, and people with hair and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's been like a bit of a short-ass girl going in there. It was like, but it got to the point where Bill, once he gets to know you, he was quite a hard nut to crack. But once he kind of got to know you and realised that you were for real and that you loved the music, he would keep a stash behind for you.
Yeah.
Because I had a job on a Saturday morning, so by the time I'd finished working and got into town, like everybody else had been there with the fingers all over everything and taking the good stuff. So he used to keep a stash ready for me, and it was, it had white labels and promos and all that good stuff in there. So I could just kind of saunter in and pick up my selection. And I know you mentioned on your video, Fred, that he would test you with things as well. You had to adjust your ear and get into a different sort of zone with some of these things. It wasn't just an instant, my God, yeah. But so Bill with his green hand.
I think for me, like, just follow on what you just said there, I think, you did test it because, like, you've just hit on a very important thing before there, and I think it's worth, people don't really think about it now. When I always have this conversation with my kids, you've just told me this afternoon what you were picking for your albums, and I was able to just go on my phone, but I'm sitting typing some reports here I'm doing, and click on Spotify and just play the soundtrack of EPMD. And I'm not going to spoil it because obviously your other stuff that you've still to pick yet that I was also checking out. And you can just do that now. So if somebody says to me, "Oh, Fred, you really need to see such and such," and I'm saying, "Oh, I've never heard of them before," I'm going to check them out and come back and say, "Oh," so like shout out to Ken Masters. Ken Masters told me about Percy P. I'd never even heard of him. I went and checked them out on Spotify. I'm going to be invested in some stuff because I quite like it. I can do that, but at the time, if you said to me then, Jooli, "Oh, check out EPMD," I'm like, who are they? Because there was no reference. You couldn't. And the only thing I used to check out was John Peel's show late at night. He used to play a bit of hip hop on there as well as punk and rock. So you maybe get a bit of that. Or I've said before about getting tapes from America or from down in London. So I'd walk in on a Saturday and Bill would just say, "You've got to listen to this." And it was Bill's recommendations. That's why I picked music. Do you know what I mean? And some of the stuff I didn't, like, my ear doesn't always tune into something straight away. I'll be honest about that as well. So I've said it before, Public Enemy, I didn't tune into them. I'm ashamed to say it now. I heard them first time and thought, "What's this shit?" That's what I said. Like, what's that? Do you know what I mean? Love them now, but at the time I was like, "What's it?" Because me, I wasn't on that. My ear was on, James Brown and all of that, and all of a sudden I heard this wow, 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 and it was going in to see Bill, and Bill played. So Bill played me the Paris album. Same thing. I was like, whoa, it was a bit more easier for me to get into that. But I just think Bill in the Northeast hip hop scene, everybody speaks about him, but I don't think people realise, I was
fundamental.
What's that? Yeah, definitely. And I think if someone ever makes a film about the Northeast hip hop scene, like a proper one, I know people have made attempts of like sort of documentary type things, but it should be centered around Bill. If we're going to make a one where you actually have proper characters in, it should be about Bill.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it was almost like, once you're in Bill's team, I personally thought, I've cracked it.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm official. Because he didn't take any rubbish, and he, I saw him sort of really blasting people in his shop as well.
Right.
So when I started getting my stash put behind with my little name on and everything, I was like, yeah.
Nice one. Okay. Good stuff. So, what are that magical 4?
Okay. This is low profile. We're in this together.
Okay.
I love it. It's one of the, to me, a massively underrated album. It's something that I was going to say not a lot of people have got their hands on, but they probably have, but it's not spoken about that much. And it's an absolute classic.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the truth before, just interrupt there. When you sent the list across, I thought, oh, Jooli's picked all these songs out, the 4 of them. I knew straight away, all right, yeah. Like I said before, we've got very similar tastes when it comes to the classics. But then you pick that left field one for me. I've heard of them, I've seen pictures of them, but I've never heard anything by them. And I was shocked when I Googled them and started looking into it, that Dub C's, it was in them. I never knew that.
We were actually talking about it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, right, yes. That's what I thought. I thought someone had said something, and I was thinking, who mentioned it? And I was like, I've never, Dub C, I knew he was in the Mad Circle. I knew he had something to do with Coolio and all of that.
Yeah.
But I never knew about them being in Low Profile. I only thought Low Profile was a record label. I've never even knew about Low Profile. So, I'll give myself a smack there, but I didn't know anything about them. So over to you, Julie, anyway, but I just go on.
Well, you can thank us later when you've heard it properly.
Okay.
But DJ Aladdin and MCWC, which is a bit of a, never mind. But yeah, DJ Aladdin, I don't know if you know him, it was like a DMC turntable.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Massively talented, massively.
Yeah.
I think he was involved in Ice-T and the Rhyme Syndicate.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they only did this one album. I think it was 1990 it was released on Priority.
89.
89.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just amazing. Again, I mean, you spoke about Mad Circle with Coolio. I've got Ain't a Damn Thing Changed, which is one of the albums knocking around somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good album, but to me, this one tops it by a mile. It's really slow, it's quite chilled out, you know what I mean? But it just hits the spot. It really is.
It's funny, the other thing as well is obviously it's West Coast, but it doesn't sound West Coast.
No, and I think that's a lot of the Mad Circle things sound to me more West Coast in their style.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, it's kind of laid back. But yeah, because I'm more of an East Coast person, I have to admit, generally where I tend to go. Yeah. The odd few West Coast here and there, and obviously people from wherever else. But yeah, I just loved it. I can listen to this start to finish, and that's another reason why I rate it as an album in my fave 5.
Okay. John?
Favorite track?
Oh. Damn. I'll say Aladdin's on a Rampage.
I would agree.
What do you think about the album, John?
It's one of them ones which, I'll be honest, I've not listened to for such a long time.
Yeah.
But it's really, really good. I mean, obviously you'd never heard it until I mentioned, because we were talking about WC the Mad Circle, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like one of them hidden gems which it's gone completely under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's definitely worth listening to. I love it.
So am I right in thinking, because I've only listened to it briefly once and I had to skip through because I'd I was making conference calls and stuff like that as well. So I was kept on stopping it as well because staff were ringing me and all that type of stuff. I am right in thinking it sounds very East Coastish, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
What's that? Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's just like that kind of like when I saw Dub C, I thought, well, he's the way he puts himself across in Mad Circle, and then obviously West Side Connection, or the dance and all of that, the what do you call it, crip walking and all of that type of stuff. He's very, very West Coast, is what I know him as.
Well, do you not think they went like that because of people like NWA and possibly Paris and everything, where they've followed the trend, and obviously it was very G-funky after that, like with Curb Serve and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I find it interesting because it slipped under my radar, and then when I find out that from the West Coast, and then looking at the pictures and thinking, hi, that's Dub C, a very, very young Dub C, from what I knew him as. It's wild. Yeah.
I think that's a good thing about the music that we like. There's so much stuff that we just don't know, and people like Julie Hughes, obviously this song, this album, then people like Ken, who obviously with you with the Percy P and Mad Villain. I think it's good how it brings
Cellar Dwellers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good way, especially with these videos, of people trying new stuff and broadening the horizons.
Yeah.
So,
go on, Julie. You're going to say something?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've learned a lot from listening to the series and the music that I've checked out.
Yeah.
And you can do it now without having to, you know, like I was saying, it was always a gamble when you were picking a record, you know, what
Yeah.
you spent a tenner on. You can do that now without spending any coins. So,
You
you
know,
know, but I always say, if you like it, buy the vinyl.
definitely, or the CD. You know, I know I'm a vinyl vandal, but you know, at least buy the CD. But please don't buy air. You know what I mean? Or even buy cassette. You know, go to RPM Records. Shout out to Rich and Marek and Craig at RPM Records. They sell cassettes there as well. So you know, I don't care how you buy them, but don't buy air. That's what I'm saying. Cassette, CD, or vinyl, but don't buy air. What I would say though is that doing this series and like listening to all that stuff, and I've got a long list of stuff that I've still got to check out. I'm very loath to buy a lot of the new stuff because I'm not into, you know, I don't want to start going on my little soapbox, and you know, youngins can have what they want, and I'm happy for them. You know, a lot of that stuff I feel alienated from. All of that running around in skin tight pants and funny coloured hairs, just, you know, it's not for an old dude like me. But you know, I respect that's what they want to do. I'm not one of these ones who start hip hop, because if we did that, we wouldn't have been listening from Grandmaster Flash and what do you call it, like Planet Rock, you know, like Africa Bambaataa, all the way through to Public Enemy, and you know, all these other people. You know, they've all had their sort of like different slant on hip hop music. So I respect that. And then if that's the case, Jooli hip hop, the stuff that we know from the Northeast, isn't hip hop. Then if that's the case, because it's different. However, the beauty of being able to do these videos and finding out this new stuff, like Jooli educate me now about low profile, is I can still go buy new music. To me, it's new to me. Do you know what I mean? So I can still go and spend me pennies on music that I've never heard before, which I think's mint, because I'm rediscovering stuff that I didn't know, I forgot about, which is great for me, you know. And when sometimes the artists went out and brought their fifth album out, I was like, oh, I'm not listening to that. I've gone off them now. I'm rediscovering actually it's quite good now in the scheme of things. It just wasn't as good as the first album. You know, obviously I was put off at the time, but now I'm rediscovering them as well. So I love that as well.
Yeah, and I think one thing with you, Fred, is you know, you've mentioned that you're stubborn. We've quite often had discussions before about certain artists who, you know, a few years ago you'd be like, no way. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm not listening. You know, talking about the Jungle Brothers, Tribe Called Quest, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and now
I'm banging around them.
Nobody's like, yeah.
But it's better than stuff that the new stuff that's coming out that I just can't get with. I'm an old dude, and I've got me set me ways that I like certain music, and you know, like I say, I'm not going to run down the youngins. You know, if my son or my nephew want to listen to certain music, good luck to them. It's just I just can't get with it. You know, my stepdaughter and our partner, he's a DJ. He's a top DJ. He's got a lot of followers. He plays a lot of this stuff that I listen to. I just think, oh. But good luck to them. You know, the young love it. They go love it in the club. They'll go to the gigs. Great, have it. You know, I'm not gonna hate on them. You know.
Oh, I'm gonna have to disagree with you slightly.
Okay, that's fine. You can.
But no, I mean, to me, like the essence of it and why I listen to it. Yeah, you have your joke tracks and your diss tracks and everything else, but it was the content. It was the lyrics that went in there. You know, it's like absolute genius how these rhymes and these detail is in there. You know, it wasn't just about hearing the beat and like nodding your head and everything. It was, you know, I mean, I'm not going to KRS-One. You know, when he turned overseer into officer, and he just made that, you know, and you're like, how clever is that? You know, what goes on in someone's mind? Like I said it before about the turntables and the samples, whatever. To me, it's like the genius and the thought that goes into a lot of this music. And then when people take that away and just start talking about money and cars and strip clubs or whatever, to me, it's kind of, it's just wrecked all of that for me.
I agree, but that didn't start with the youngins. Jay-Z and Biggie, and then you know, people forget Jay-Z and Biggie were doing that. You know, we'll forget that Jay-Z was going on about being all blingy and all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but to me, that's when I kind of
all of that kind of stuff.
That's when I started losing interest.
Yeah.
And a lot of people cite them as being old school or whatever. To me, they're not old school at all.
They're middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
middle school.
To me, that's when it started kind of to die. I mean, there were some great artists around at that time, don't get me wrong, who were still doing what I call hip hop.
Yeah.
But this is when, to me, like the rot started to set in.
It is, but you've got to remember, I think we forget, and we've got to we romanticize a bit too much sometimes. And I've had to have a word with myself, because I've thought like you sometimes. there's some stuff from our era that
There's some
actually,
terrible stuff.
there's some terrible stuff. There's some stuff where, you know, the disrespect for women, you know, NWA, you know, they heralded a lot of that when they were talking about money and they were talking about money and all those things. Yeah, there was violence involved in there. There was disrespect for women. Yeah, they also heralded a lot of that stuff as well, but we choose to forget it. Ice-T only ever used to talk about that, but we'll forget that. You know, we'll forget that. And we've got to remember it, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. There was a lot of artists at the time talking that shit as well, but we choose to forget it. So when, you know, and when I'm talking about some of the new stuff now, I'm not talking about just that mumble stuff, no disrespect them, but it's mumble to me. But there's some good stuff now, but I just don't really. So, for instance, Kendrick, I got an album, I couldn't get it because somebody that I worked with was going on, however, I get it to Kendrick, it's really good. I got it, I've sat down and I've listened to it a few times and I'm like, nah. But then over the summer, when we were on lockdown, I've been in the garden, I thought, no, I'm going to play it again. And when I've been doing my little bit, I've been getting in the gardening, by the way, over the summer. And when I've been doing gardening and stuff, I've been listening to it. And actually, it's all right. It's just not as good as the stuff that I like. So it's not Paris. It's not Chuck D. But actually, he's saying some clever stuff. It's not me, but it's all right. It's all right, you know.
There's some artists out there like Dave. You know, he talks about what's going on.
Yeah.
For me, because it's more monotone and the beats.
Yeah.
Not quite. It doesn't grab us as much.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe if I listen to it and give it a chance, it will. But I mean, Akala's up there.
Yeah, but you know, I say this all the time and I get shot down a lot, but Kano is mint and people really need to give him a chance and check out some of his albums because he's really, really good. I would say he's one of Britain's finest at the moment. Yeah, up there with Akala and that, like out of the newer generations. But Kano is really spot on. We've got a gem there, but I think he gets disrespected because he came through the grime scene. But people do want to listen to some of his latest albums and they're really, really good. They'll get a shock if they actually took the time to listen to it. You know, he's as good as some of the people that, well, better than some of the people that we herald up as, you know, the best in the, at least in the UK anyway, if not some of the American stuff. So you definitely see you should check out Kano. You know, if people haven't before.
No, no, Kano from long, but yeah.
Cool.
Okay, Jooli. So, your last one. Oh, did you pick your tune off that album? Did you? Off the low profile.
Yeah, I did. I said Aladdin's on a Rampage.
Aladdin's on a Rampage, right? That's just
song or Play Jews or.
Stop it. Right. So, what's your last album?
Okay. Public Enemy.
Hell yeah.
Yes. I mean, what can I say about this album? It just changed everything in my life. It really did. You know, just my thought process, how I looked at things, you know, the topics are discussed, the names that they were dropping, you know, I didn't know a lot of these names, you know, or you'd heard of them on the periphery, but, you know, in Newcastle, it wasn't really a mad thing to be spoken about. And even then, when I was trying to look them up, you know, again, there was no internet, so Newcastle Library, they had some of these books in there, they had some stuff, but you know, you always grabbing to learn more. Yeah. And there were certain lines, you know, like, what do you mean by that? And it just made me question everything that I've been taught, everything that I've been, you know, brainwashed, I would say, into believing. And just sort of, I don't know, looking at things in a different way and not just accepting stereotypes. And I just mean about everything. You know, whether it's class, race, religion, you know, take people at face value and just, you know, take it from there. It really did make me stop and think. And I think if anybody who claims to be a Public Enemy fan and doesn't understand the meaning behind these lyrics,
tell it.
Just needs to go away.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Thank you. The truth. Definitely.
It really is, because I mean, how can you spout any kind of shit and then say you're a Public Enemy fan? Yeah. It just honestly
beggars belief. Yeah.
I just can't understand it. It's like, have you heard it? You know, it's no good just sitting there like nodding your head or you know, pumping your fist or whatever people want to do. Yeah. Listen to what you're being taught.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree with you. You're running around with a Public Enemy t-shirt on, you've been to the gigs and all of that, yeah, you're still going on about like all lives matter. And I'm talking to some of you out there that are listening right now, and I am on my soapbox. Julie, set us off now, okay? Stop saying you're a Public Enemy fan, okay? And other artists too, yeah, who have been trying to educate you for the last 20, 30 years, okay? And then pretending that you're a hip hop fan and then running around talking this racist crap, talking about, well, Tommy Robinson's got a point. No, he's full of shit, okay? That's the truth, yeah? When you're running around saying all Muslims are this, but then you listen to 5% hip hop, where's your brains at? Wu-Tang Clan, Rakim, yeah, that Big Daddy Kane, all these 5%ers that you're listening to, but then you're talking all this crap about Muslims. Yeah, you need to have a word with yourself because they're Muslims. Yeah, so listen to what you're listening to and take it in. Don't just let it go straight through there and dance and, like Julie said, pump your fist up because you're full of it. Sorry to hijack there, Julie, but you're spot on, and people need to be told. Yeah.
No, it's true, and I'm pretty sure when I got this, it had the lyrics inside.
Did it? Okay.
You know, it had the lyrics on the inner
It did
sleeve.
originally. Yeah, it did originally, I remember.
I've looked at mine, I need to check mine. I can't remember.
Yeah, so you could actually, you know, if you couldn't catch the words or catch the names properly, you read it all.
Okay.
You know, and now thanks to that, I do a brilliant Public Enemy karaoke.
Go on,
Rum induced, by the way. She likes her rum.
Yeah, but yeah, honestly, it was just fundamental. It really did just, and it still does. I mean, there's tracks on here. I think it was on a 12, first of all, with Rebel Without a Pause. She watched Channel Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to this, and I think at the time this one didn't strike as much of a chord with it. Right. I knew what they were saying, but I think it's because it was before the Jerry Springer kind of programs came to the UK, and as much not saying that we had quality TV at all, but it was kind of like a new all-time low. And it wasn't until I was aware of those kind of programs that this made even more sense. Mm-hmm. You know, like the brainwashing, the just sitting there numb and just taking in all of this shit. Mm-hmm. You know, so no, I love it. I love it. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Why? So, you know, we were talking before about, obviously we've had quite a few on. I think we've recorded about 15 of these now. They haven't all aired, but we've recorded about 15 or 16 of these. Mm-hmm. And anybody who's picked Public Enemy, I don't think's picked that album yet. Have they, John? Can I remember? I can't remember. Julie, you might know as well. I think most people have picked
the first one.
I think
sure it has been picked. I'm sure it has.
Maybe it has. I can't remember. But majority of people have picked the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they pick the Public Enemy album, they pick the first one, which I find interesting in itself because, if you know, I don't want to spoil my top 5, but if I was going to pick a Public Enemy album, it would be the same one Julie's picked. Like I said before, we've got very similar tastes. I do like the first album, but not as much as I like the second album. The second album, and also, come on, if it's a third or fourth album, what's the other album called? We'll Fight the Power On.
Favourite Black Planet.
Black Planet. Yeah, they're my 2 favourite albums. That one that Julie's got there and Fear of a Black Planet are my 2 favourite Public Enemy albums. Yeah.
I'm sure Fear of a Black Planet was released on my birthday.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
No wonder it's a good
So you know what question is then? It's your favourite album, but what's your favourite song off that album?
Night of the Living Bassheads.
Woo! And everybody who knows me, who knows that that's one of my favourite hip hop tunes of all time. I just, especially the video for it, I just absolutely love it.
You know what? I'm just going through the list of what everyone liked, and it hasn't been picked.
I didn't think it had because I kept on thinking, okay.
Bumble Show, yes, but
yeah.
I
think Blue Bumble Show has been picked about 3 times or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing album. You know what I mean? I can't take anything away from it, but for me, this is mine. This is my favorite one. Yeah, hard to pick a track, but definitely Night of the Living Bassheads. But I didn't used to watch videos because I didn't have fancy telly or anything like that.
Okay. Oh, We'll get you some gruel from Oliver Twist's shop, eh? Oh, flipping it. No, nice of the because I got a lass I was seeing at the time bought me the video. You know, like the video, the Public Enemy video with all the different.
Was it Fight the Power Live? The white cover.
It's actually it's two. It's two. Yeah. There's a live one, but there's also one with that videos on. Right. It's got that, you know, it's got that video on with Beat My Tie on and all of that, and it's got you know, the guy when they go to the base heads where they're cooking from the pot.
Yeah.
That video they live beer. I just think it's brilliant. Brilliant.
Look at him go.
Honestly, I'm getting all dewy-eyed about it. It's class.
No.
Okay. Anything else, John, you want to say?
I think everything's been said, to be honest. Everything what should be said about Public Enemy has been said, so...
You can never say enough about Public Enemy.
Yeah, true.
I just respect, you know, he's brought another album out, everybody's whinging on to it, it's not very good, or, you know, or it's all right and all of this type of stuff. The bloke is 60, odd, him and Flavor in their 60s now, right? Okay. He still runs up and down that stage like he's a blooming 20-year-old, yeah? He still gives maximum energy to hip-hop music and the Public Enemy itself, and he cares deeply. If you follow him on Instagram, he is never stopped. You know, it's not just about his music. He's on about Trump. He's on about America, voting. He doesn't stop. He does not stop. You know, that guy is like, I don't know how to even describe what I think about him. I just think, flipping heck, that bloke really, really cares. Yes, obviously it's his job. Yes, he's doing it to get money. Of course he is. But we do things to get money as well because we've all got to live and eat. But he does above and beyond just making money off it. Do you know what I mean? So for me, you know, I just think it's fantastic. You know, for myself, for me, like you'd always be in me top selection just on that.
You know, think Terminator X was massively underrated as well, or just went under the radar.
I think because of that sort of Terminator X speaks with his hands, so he didn't do the interviews. You never saw him doing like whiling out, or you know. So Chuck D obviously was running up and down the stage. Terminator X was sort of in the shadows at the back with the big shades on. You never even see what he looked like properly. Flavor Flav's all over the place, and everyone's like, you know, he's the one that gets all of the sort of adulation and all of that. So when you think of someone like Terminator X, he's easy to forget.
His two solo albums were brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved his two solo albums.
Valley of the Jeep Beats, yeah. I've got that.
And, what was the second one?
Had it on cassette, actually. Had that on cassette.
Look at that, I've got it on my phone.
Like both cassette.
Yeah.
Can't remember what his other one's called. And then he went off to be an ostrich farmer.
Superbad, that was it.
Superbad. Do you know that? Yeah. He went off to be an ostrich farmer.
Yeah.
Well, why not?
Out of all the things to do, he went off and opened the farm rearing ostriches. Just bizarre. He said he had enough of it. But he probably did the right thing, to be fair.
I think when people talk about Public Enemy, you know, they talk about Chuck D and his, you know, his lyrics and his words and his, which as it should do, and Flavor Flav for his craziness and his antics and, you know, his other things he has going on. You know, he's never mentioned when people say, oh, who's your favourite DJs or whatever. You never often hear his name dropped in there.
Yeah. I would also say the Public Enemy for me, I was talking about this the other day, I don't know if it was on camera or if it was just off to somebody, but you're right. Chuck D, obviously, like I've just said before, I can give as many accolades as I want, like, you know, like, and I think a lot of other people do as well. You're right, Flavor Flav is very important. People just think he was just but you needed that, you know, people always talk about it. Chuck D ramming that down your throat can get a bit monotonous if that's all he's doing. Yeah. So having Flavor Flav as a sort of like anti-hero running around doing all his foolishness, you needed that. And then on top of that, obviously, like you say, Terminator X's DJing at the time was absolutely phenomenal, and people forget that because like it was sort of like buried at the back. But he also had, as much as he could be annoying and he come up with some controversial things, but he also had Professor Griff, and he's obviously his martial arts and the rest of the bomb squad as well. Sorry, the S1Ws. Yeah, and when they were in that height with all their stuff as well, running on with the fake Uzis and doing kung fu kicks and, you know, that paramilitary sort of dance stroke marching. It was a show. When you went to see them, there was so much going on, you didn't know where to look. You could stop looking, Chuck D, because you go to, imagine going to see Paris, for instance, you'd just be watching him. Same with Rakim, you sort of just, it can get a bit boring when you watch just one person. But when you're hearing Chuck D educating you, you don't have to look at him all the time because Flavor Flav's running around doing stupid things with the clock. 2 Minute X is just standing there like this, just cutting and scratching. Then you've got all the S1Ws doing all of the karate stuff and all of that. There's so much to be watching. It's actually like going to theatre and watching like a theatre production. You know what I mean? Not a solo thing. It's like watching the whole thing. And I just, you know, from the early ones when I saw them with Brixton and then saw them with Hammersmith or whatever, remember going with my sister to one of them. I think it was they were supporting Beastie Boys or the other way around. I can't remember which way around it was. But it was just like, yeah, it was a contrast as well between the Beastie Boys with girls in cages, half naked, gyrating, yeah. And then you had these guys coming on that were like serious, paramilitary gear. The lights went down, the sirens went off, and it was just like, you're like, whoa, this is like World War III. It was just a show. I just thought it was brilliant, you know. And you don't get it anymore. People don't put that much effort into shows anymore. I think that's the thing we need to talk about is artists, young and old, don't put that much effort into shows anymore, which I think is a shame.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people just have the energy just to carry it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we've seen KRS-One a couple of times. He's been up here quite recently, and he doesn't have additional stuff going on, but just his pure energy and magnitude on the stage just keeps you captivated, you know.
You need that. You definitely need that. And like I'm trying to say that you're right. KRS-One's a good example because he does, but he puts maximum energy into it. Chuck D hasn't got all that stuff now. Even the S1Ws, you know, the James Bomb and that, need to disrespect him, but he's an old dude now. He can't do what he used to do. They still do a little bit, you know. When we were up at Glasgow, it was still good to see, but it wasn't like on the same par of what it used to be. Like, you know what I mean, with the high kicks and all of that. They do a little bit and they have to have a rest. But in contrast to them, compared to De La Soul, I've seen about 4 times and they're boring to watch live. They're boring. Sorry, like, but they're really, really boring, you know?
Yeah, and I've seen them a fair few times. And even though I like a lot of their music, when I've seen them more recently, I mean, first of all, they're like, you know, put your hands to the left or right. I don't like being told what to do. Start anywhere. But I feel like I'm in a kid's party, you know. I'm not here to do this and shout on this side and shout when I'm on that side. And
it's cliched now as well. Yeah, it's cliched now as well, isn't it? It was fine when it first started because it was a new thing, but then it's like everybody feels as though they have to. Well, most of them feel as though they have to do it and say, "Oh, you were so much better on this side than that side. My side's much more better than your side," and all of that. And it's like boring. You've done it. These ones have done it. That one's done it, and all of that. You know. So I do want to be entertained when I go to a show, especially because we make an effort. Like that's why I was so upset with Stetsasonic. We made all that effort to go down there, and you want to see a show. You're doing, you know, and a classic example as well. There's 7 or 8 of them on stage, Wu-Tang Clan, and they can't be asked. They can't be asked. It's boring. They're boring to watch quite a few of the times. I've probably seen Wu-Tang about 6 times, and I've probably seen them twice really, really good. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a shame when you've got that many people. You shouldn't be that boring on stage where you're just standing there. Method Man tries. He tries a lot. Yeah. Was it Manchester where we went to see them, John? Where they did a canning show.
If it wasn't for him, it would have been terrible.
It would have been terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got Big Daddy Kane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw him in Leeds a good few years ago. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. You know, like. The lyrics just come and he does a freestyle, you know what I mean? It's you know, I love it. Love it.
We went to see, what do you call it, one at Chizza. Boring, man. It was boring. We remember you nearly fell off stage, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was nuts, yeah. Anyway, that's for another time. Okay, Jooli, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Definitely been in education. I've enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed it, John?
No.
Don't forget, John, you haven't done your USA or UK yet, so you need to be nice to people.
Be careful.
Are you going to be interviewing as well, then, Julie? Are you?
I think I might have to now.
Oh, good. Okay, then I'll sort one out.
Get it sorted. We need to do the American one because Julie's got a plan. So we need to get it. Yeah. And actually, you're saying that I haven't done my American one, so I need to do mine soon as well. So we need to sort that out. Okay. But
on it.
have you got any last words, John?
No.
Julie, have you got anything else you want to say to the people at home?
Oh, thanks for tuning in.
Right, just to say, obviously, once again, don't forget, we are the Vinyl Vandals. We enjoy doing this. We enjoy it when people share what we do. We enjoy it when people join us on a Friday night. Get your popcorn in and watch it live as it's broadcast. Don't forget that we also are the trainer detective. Shout out to Fathead Asher, my son, who is the other half of the trainer detective. We're definitely up for anybody who wants to come on and do that. We want to interview some people because we haven't done the trainer. We started it a year ago and we haven't been able to do it since just after Christmas because of this. So we want to get back on that. So we'll do it via Zoom. So, pick your 5 favorite trainers and come on. Don't forget Riddler. Shout out to Riddler again. He's on a Monday night on Method Radio. Shout out to Sandy, who puts the Method Radio together. It's a family thing up here in the Northeast. We like to obviously make sure that we're all working together for your hip hop pleasure. Good night, and thank you, Julie. Peace.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.